Okie dokie. My name is Carvette Bohannon. I'm the Regional Vice President of Talent for the San Antonio region. I am joined by our Senior Executive Director, Angie Edismendi. You will also see some folks on the line who represent our San Antonio Regional Cabinet, along with candidates, both internal and external. The purpose of our time together is to ensure that everyone can walk away with a clear understanding of what we are looking for in the San Antonio region in terms of principles for our upcoming 25-26 school year. This webinar is going to go quick. It is going to go fast. We ask that you be in a place and space where you can fully engage and that you ask your questions in the chat. Feel free to come off mute. This is your time to learn and advocate for all things that you need to know about principalship. Now, some of the things we're going to go over: historical performance. It is important for you as a candidate to know what we are looking for in terms of your experience and things that you'll bring to the table. It is equally important for us to just tell you the nitty gritty of the principal role and the characteristics and desires that we want for our kids and communities that we serve. And then finally, we're going to open it up for some questions, and you're going to see a whole bunch of next steps that we hope will inspire you to continue this process. And if not, at least you'll have the information that you need to make that next step in another role. Now, we want to talk really quickly, how do we leverage data during selection? You might say, Carvey B, I'm a principal. I've been at API for 10 years. Well, we love that. And we're going to want to ask you to share that throughout any pre-work should you be selected to move forward in this process. And we want to see it throughout your resume and the data pieces that you present. We're also going to ask you about goals. Did you hit any goals? Do you know what goals are? Goals are important so that we can reach and meet the intended outcomes set forth by our charter and so that we can fulfill the promises that we gave to our families. For internal idea staff, we have what's called a 2x2. What's a 2x2, Carvey B? I don't work here. Well, let me tell you, we want to ensure that everyone can give upwards feedback and receive feedback from their managers at critical points in the year. So you have to be able to say the things and you have to be able to receive that hard critical feedback so that you can get better faster. Now, for those of you coming from a traditional ISD or a brother and sister charter, you know you have to be evaluated, whether they call it an annual performance review or an end of year evaluation. We have to know the sum total of the work that you do so that we can determine where there might be gaps that we can close, or if you need some time to stay in the role so that you can meet our performance expectations and outcomes. And the final piece, this might be new to some of you, we have what is called a 9-cell. We want to know all of those who are performing and where you are in comparison to your peers. It is not something that's going to say you are not principal ready. However, it will give us a holistic view of what you yourself have done over time in the role that you're currently serving in. Now, I will tell you, as the recruiter and the assistant to the hiring manager, Ms. Angie Edismendi, we've seen some leader gaps over time. And what we want to do is transparently name these gaps for you so that you're not surprised in the interview process when we ask questions. We know that generally people can say what they do, and sometimes they can say how they do it. They might get a little nervous in that interview panel and go, I know I can do this. Well, this is your opportunity to start practicing with you and your manager, and then maybe someone that you trust who can just give you that real time feedback. So, when we talk about leading other leaders, you as the principal have to be able to coach and develop everyone in your space from operations to instruction. You are on the hook to provide that coaching. When we talk about lesson planning and internalization, you have to know what to do with the curriculum. You have to know where to push, guide, and coach teachers and coach leaders who are coaching teachers so they can get better. And guess what? You're going to do tons of coaching conversations. You're going to do observation feedback. And then you're going to have a manager who may or may not be on this call who's also going to give you feedback on the feedback that you're giving. Student work analysis. Our kids have to do work. And we have to be able to analyze the work that they are doing so that they can get better. And we know we need to keep our kids in our building year over year so that they can fulfill our mission. So, student persistence and campus culture, you guessed it, you're going to be on the hook for that too. average daily attendance and chronic absenteeism. This is going to be a shout out to our VP of Ops, Sebastian. This is near and dear to his heart. As a principal, we need you to have children in the building that you are coaching. And then we have support for our special populations. We have Sheila Hernandez on here. She's watching. She can see this. She can hear us. You'll need to know how to take care of our most critical kids. And then finally, time and task management. Do know as I turn this over to our Senior Executive Director, Ms. Angie Edismendi, it is my job to tell you all the things up front. You will hear this again throughout the phone screening and throughout this final process. I just want to make sure you can get the things you need so that when you hear Ms. Angie share what we are looking for in an executive leader for San Antonio, you can be crystal clear on our expectations. At this time, we are going to turn it over to Angie Edismendi.
Hello, everybody. I'm really excited to be here with you and give you a chance to learn about our principalship expectations for IDS San Antonio. So you're probably wondering, what do we expect? Well, we'll share a little bit with you. It is going to be all of this and so much more. So you can read our mission up there in terms of the role. We are focusing on managing, coaching, and developing campus lead teams and teachers at the school. Keyword and teachers. As principals, we don't just coach lead team members, we also directly coach teachers so that our principals can always stay close to the core work. We also have 6 driving goals that we have for our region. They are listed there for you. We recognize that our entire school district was created to ensure that all of our students were able to graduate from high school and go to college. And so we keep that near and dear to our hearts. And we also recognize that in order for us to send our children to college, we actually have to get out there and find them. So we do a lot to work on recruiting our students to meet the needs of the community. And we also want to be a great school for our students to attend, meaning every school that we lead, we are working to get them toward 100%, 100% of our schools at an A rating. We know it's difficult and very challenging to get there, but we know that if we get our schools to that level of an A rating, we are preparing more of our children for the academic rigor that they will experience when they go to college, and thus they will be more successful and they will graduate more quickly. We know that in terms of student persistence, this is the number of students that start with us and return the following year. We know that if we're going to have the lasting impact on them to prepare them for the rigors in the future, we need to keep them in our school system for as long as possible through their high school years and to and through college, because we know it doesn't just take 1 year to get a kiddo prepared for college. It takes many, many years, year over year. And we also know that our staff retention, when we have great teachers who stay in the seat year over year, and great leaders who stay in the seat year over year, and great ops team members, anybody who is serving our kiddos, we know that when we are in the seat, the longer we're in the seat, the stronger we get, the better we perform, the more likely our children will get what they need from us. And so we really drive toward that outcome of 85% retention. And then we also are working toward 97% average daily attendance for students, which in some other organizations, they may think that that's unreasonable or unlikely. And while it is a high percentage of students that we are working to get to come into our schools, we find it imperative in order to make sure that our students can learn all that they need to throughout the school year in order to be best prepared for the assessments that they will receive in the future and to engage in the future rigorous activities for college. So those are the things that we really focus on for our campuses, and we actually focus on those at the regional level as well. So fun fact, those are the big ones, and here are all of the others. So I'll be quiet for just about 30 seconds and give you a chance to read. All right, so here are some, but not all, of the other goals that our campus principals are on the hook to drive. I will name for you that some of these are very specific to early elementary, as in the case with DIBELS growth for literacy. You can see both academy and college prep leaders are on track to address STAR at 90, 60, 30, 90% earning the approaches, 60 earning the meets, and 30% earning master's level performance. But we're also specifically looking at the sub-pops to ensure that all of our children, regardless of what demographic they meet, can achieve at the highest levels possible. We run a specialized program in the accelerated reader program courses, and in Hotspot. We run these for first grade all the way through 7th grade. And our children are expected to read a certain number of words to comprehend those in order to become better readers, because we know better readers turn into better leaders in the future. And we also give them the hotspot experience with mathematics, which is where they get extra at-bats with mathematics objectives that they will find necessary for success on the STAR exam and math beyond. We're also a school district that focuses on achieving PE honor roll, which we say that, having a healthy mind is incredibly important, but it's also important to have a healthy body. And so we work to get our children exercising to the national standards, and we work toward earning that honor roll achievement as well. We do know that sometimes our children make attempts at passing the STAR exams, and sometimes they're not successful. We love them anyway, just the same way we loved them before the exam. And our way of showing that continued love is to work with them through accelerated instruction to make sure that they close those gaps before they come to the next assessment at the end of the year, or mid-year if they're a mid-year tester. Something also that's really important to note is that as a campus principal, you would be on the hook to lead all lead team members on the site, regardless of whether or not you were previously able to do that other role. It is not okay for a principal to say, I don't know how to manage and coach an assistant principal for operations because I was never an assistant principal for operations. Or I don't know how to manage or coach a counselor because I was never a counselor. Well, we're not asking you to have done all of the other roles, but it is helpful if you've had a chance to sit in those seats before. But what we are asking and expecting of our principals is to make sure that they build their skill at leadership, coaching, and management through all layers of the campus leadership team, so that everyone is able to achieve their intended targets in support of the children in the building. I'll give you a moment to take a look at this very busy calendar. And if you think it's a lot, you're absolutely right. It is a lot that we expect our principals to do successfully. You'll notice that there is time for the principal to be with every direct report in check-ins, in classroom observations, and in planning for lesson plan feedback. I would say even in meetings with families whose children are chronically absent. We also want you to note that we expect that our principals, though there are busy weeks and there are some weeks that are shorter than others, there are 4-day weeks, 3-day weeks, we still expect that there are tactical meetings where all members of the lead team come together to plan what are the most important things that need to transpire in the next week. What is the relevant data that is telling us what is going well in our campus that we can capitalize on, and what is the relevant data that's telling us where we're missing the mark, and how are we going to close that gap? We expect for that to happen. We expect for our principals to lead culture rounds with counselors, assistant principals for operations, assistant principals for instruction, to get in the building to diagnose and prescribe what is a gap in the campus and what are we doing about it. We expect those things to happen. We expect that our principals are looking ahead always to figure out what are some things that they can do in order to improve the entire school community at large through strategic meetings and staff development. We expect that there'll be a huddle every single day with the whole lead team. And we're expecting this huddle to be between 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes tops. But it's a time where all of the lead team members for the campus come together and discuss how many subs are in the building. Are there any AC air conditioning units that are broken? Is the food going to be delivered on time today? Is there anything, is there testing that's transpiring, so that we can make sure that the schools are set up for success, and we expect that to transpire daily. We are, as a school system, we recognize we are working in partnership with our families. And when we work in partnership with our families, it means that our principals actually take the time to meet with families and engage with them when there's a problem. Now, it is true that a principal cannot meet with every single family that comes in through the door, because there aren't enough hours in the day, but there is a strategic time where principals are working to meet the needs of the families who do join the school. And if there is a significant gap in the experience that the parents are having versus what they anticipated they were having, we do expect that our principals, as the final say-so and person who is at the helm of the campus, make the time to talk with the families to build the long-term partnership and relationship that is necessary to make sure that the children stay in our buildings, stay with us for the long term, and get prepared to go to and through college. It's also really important for a principal to be incredibly organized. I cannot say this enough. Our folks who shine are folks who have their consistent to-do lists. They have later lists of things they're not doing right now, but they are planning for the future. They are consistently looking 2, 3, 4, and 10 months ahead to prepare for what's coming. And they are also looking back on what already transpired in order to inform how they will accomplish the tasks in the future. They are understandably it's very difficult to do this. It is definitely a skill. It can be a big challenge for some folks, but we have learned over and over again that our most organized leaders are our most effective leaders. And when our folks are organized, they are effective. But when they are disorganized, they're not meeting the needs of the immediate cabinet that they serve, the assistant principals on the campus, the teachers, the students. They also are missing deadlines, and they then become to feel overwhelmed and stressed out and unfulfilled in their role because they recognize they're missing the mark in many spaces. So I encourage you, as somebody who is looking for principalship or even assistant principalship, to figure out what are the systems that you must have in place so that you are able to meet the needs of your team by first becoming the best organized person that you can for yourself and for your team. So some key characteristics that we're looking for in San Antonio. We'll share them here with you, and they still seem logical, and hopefully it's something that you can get on board with. But here's something that's really important for us. In our space, we have the opportunity to make 1,000 decisions a day as a principal, every single day. And guess what? Sometimes you're going to get the decision wrong. And what I don't want you to do is come into the seat and have the experience that recognizes that you made the wrong decision, you made a mistake, and that you get deflated and then have a significant emotional reaction and you're not able to bounce back from it. Actually, no, we want you to have a learner spirit. We want you to know that you're going to make mistakes. We know you're going to make mistakes. We work on cleaning mistakes up all the time. And it's part of the job. It's part of the role. It's part of learning. And when you come with a learner spirit, you're more able to experience that without being overcome by sadness when you make a mistake. We also want you to be flexible. you might come with a certain plan for your week to accomplish a certain number of tasks or activities, and yet something transpires that takes you off of that originally planned calendar, and you have to figure out what's the other way you're going to get those things accomplished because that time was actually taken up by something else. And then when that plan begins to roll in motion and something else happens, you have to be able to pivot again, pivot again. You have to be flexible because you have to know that things are going to change quickly, just like the weather in Texas changes quickly. The actions in San Antonio change quickly that are necessary. And we expect you to be flexible and pivot very quickly without having a reaction to, but wait a minute, I really wanted to do X, but you want me to do Y right now. I don't want to do Y because I really want to do X. Actually, no, time to pivot right now. You can go do X later. We are moving on to Y. We just want you to know that. We need you to be prepared for that and plan for that flexibility that's necessary. We also want to really emphasize the grit that's necessary. Every day we go to work, every day we have really big goals ahead of us, and many days we hit a wall. We are not as successful as we intended to be when we left our home that morning. We are not as successful as we intended to be when we finished that meeting. But the idea is we have to have the grit and determination to keep going. And we've got to be able to bounce back when we take the hard hits. Every single day is an opportunity for us to have a tough experience, but that is life. We are still working through it. We serve approximately 18,000 students and approximately 2,000 staff members. And with that many individuals coming together in our schools, it is bound to be rife with disagreements and different perspectives in direction that folks want to move in. And yet we still expect that our teammates keep moving forward and keep working together to make resolution possible and grow together through the grit and the ability to bounce back to continue to achieve the mission at hand. We also want to make sure that, that you want this role, that you want this position, and you actually have to want it more than anybody else wants it for you. And the reason why I'm looking for drive in a leader is because the days will be long, the days will be difficult. There will be some days that will be more challenging than others, and some days you might not want to get out of bed to come to do the work. But your heart has to sing to you to make sure that you want to do this, because our kids, our communities, our families, our staff are depending on you to help us get from point A to point B, from point B to point C, from point C to point D every single day. And you will have a manager, you will have a vice president of schools who will likely be your manager, although you might have a manager who's a vice president of something else as well. But mostly you'll be managed by a vice president of schools, and that person will coach you. They will give you ideas and they will guide you on what to do, but they are not going to take the wheel to drive you. They are going to be beside you, and you've got to be able to drive yourself with some guidance by your manager, who will be able to support you. They will not make 100% of decisions for you. They will not be able to be with you in field 2 and 3 times a week for 2, 3, 4, or 5 hours a week. It is simply not possible for them to be able to do that, because they also have 10 other people that they are managing, and they've got to figure out how they manage themselves and their time to accomplish what they need to accomplish. So you have to be in the driver's seat. You have to be willing, ready, and able to drive the core outcomes of at your school that you lead. We also expect you to be reflective. There are going to be times where you get it right. There are going to be times where you learn that you didn't get it right. And what we expect for you to do is take the moment to look in the mirror to figure out, what did you do that helped move the ball forward? And what did you do that prevented the ball from moving forward? And we want you to always start with, me, myself, and I, because the only person that you can control is yourself. And we want you to remember that everything that happens at a school or a campus is the responsibility of the principal who is leading the school. Plain and simple. There's no other way around it. It is you. If the number of students who are going to the school is not meeting the daily attendance rate that we set for your school, then we're going to tell you it is your responsibility to fix it. If not enough students are learning at the levels they need to, we're going to tell you, principal, you need to fix it. If not enough students are staying at your school year over year, or your staff is leaving year over year, we're going to say, principal, fix it. It is your gap to close. And even if you weren't the principal there the year before, whatever outcomes are there at the site, they are your role and responsibility to fix and move forward. What we always want you to do is be able to take ownership and recognize that it is up to you as a reflective learner to be able to close the gaps and move forward. Moving forward, talking about moving forward. Sometimes, like I named it earlier, with 2,000 employees and 18,000 students in the region, we're going to get it wrong. We're a whole bunch of adults and children. Sometimes we're really just children at heart, right? We're working together, and sometimes we're going to rub each other the wrong way. Sometimes we're going to say things and people are going to say, like, you might have stepped on my toes, and somebody might have got their toes stomped on, what have you. We're all humans. Sometimes we do it and we don't even realize that we did. We have to get to the point where when we learn that there's something that we've done that's landed in a way with somebody else that hurt them or harmed them, we've got to be able to apologize. We've got to be able to say, I'm sorry. And then we've got to be able to move forward. We can't stew on that experience and stick in that emotional state, because if we do, then it means we're not moving forward and we're not able to solve the next problem that has already come up, because usually there are 2 or 3 that come up pretty quickly anyway. So we don't have a lot of time to waste on those things. So we have to be able to apologize and move forward quickly with whatever experience has transpired. So those are some things that are really important about IDEA San Antonio. I'll give you a moment to digest this. Okay, so when we look at this, a few things that I really want to point out to you is that as a campus principal, you will have an opportunity to work directly with the staff on your campus, and you might actually see a gap at one of your sister or brother schools in data, that because you won't physically be there, but you'll be able to see how they're comparing to you and your school. And my expectation is, as a great brother and sister who's just down the street and living in the same city, I would expect that you offer support and guide your brother or sister to help them improve. That you are not waiting for others to tell you what to do, that you're actually taking initiative and trying the things, that you're problem solving in all the ways that you can before you come to this pace where you're having to ask your manager, can you tell me what to do? I expect that you are able to stand in the gap when we're not meeting the mark. And instead of saying, like, oh, we're not meeting the mark for X, Y, or Z reason, I expect that you just say, like, okay, we're not meeting the mark. Here are the things that I think we should do as a result. And here's the first step that I already took. Here are the next 9 things I'm going to try, and try to problem solve. That's what I'm looking for in a leader. I do want you to know that a principalship in IDEA San Antonio is not an 8 to 4 job. It is not a 7 to 4 job. It is minimum 7 to 5, and most of our principals are on site by 6, and most of them are not leaving till 5:30. There are long days, and we expect that you're available to support our children and our staff, because things happen. Things happen all day. Things happen all night. People are living. There are going to be emergencies that transpire after hours. And as a campus leader, we're going to expect that you are engaging with your staff to make sure that their needs are met. We expect that you engage fully in the meetings that you're in and that you prepare for them to do all of the pre-work that's necessary. We expect you to be somebody who's in the building doing the things that are supposed to be done. We don't expect you to farm all of your work out to the assistant principals that work with you. We expect you to model, to engage, and to do the things that are necessary to make a great school. We expect that you say the thing when the thing needs to be said. It is incredibly important to be part of an organization that helps and supports one another and recognize that sometimes we're going to miss the mark. But as a great teammate, you are responsible for telling your teammate when they're missing the mark in the most gentle, humane, and respectful way so that our children can get what they need. It is not okay to see that a team member is either not showing up for work on time, leaving early, or failing to get children to accomplish the academic outcomes year over year. It's expected of you to pick up the phone and tell your brother or sister, hey, I noticed your school is on track for a D. I noticed your school is on track for an F. Here's something great that has been really beneficial for the students in the school that I'm serving. I'd like to teach you about it. When can you make some time to learn about it? That is what we're looking for in terms of a successful teammate in IDEA San Antonio. I'll remind you that we work with urgency. We work in faster, and warp speed. Everything here is quicker than you will ever expect or anticipate that it should be. And it is true that sometimes we go so fast that we actually make a mistake. But you know what? By the time we got there, we already fixed it anyway. And most people didn't even know we already left and made the decision to fix it because we went so fast. That's why we move quickly, because we need to address the concerns that get lifted immediately in support of our families and our staff. We expect that you want to grow, that you want to learn. We expect that you know that where you are today is not where you should be in a few weeks, in a few months, in a few years. We expect you to get 1% better every single day. And if you are not getting 1% better every single day, then you're failing to miss the mark on what we expect you to do as an IDEA principal. And if you're not modeling that for your team, then you are missing the mark and you will not be an effective principal. So please be sure that that mindset is something that you have as you work to determine what your future holds.
Thank you for that, Ms. Edismendi. At this time, we want to make sure we give an opportunity for those on this call and for those who will manage folks potentially on this call to ask any of the clarifying questions that were not answered explicitly through these slides. It could be about curriculum. It could be about enrollment. It could be about coaching and development cycle for you yourself. Advocate for your learning. Please come off mute and ask your questions at this time. You thinking I have great wait time.
Question.
Yes.
Hi, sorry. So I know that we were talking about ADA and things like that and how we have like our super recruitment days. Are there availability that we can also implement like throughout the week as well? Where I know that leaders go out once a week, additional like every week. However, are there additional times or things like that that we can do like on our own, like take flyers home, things like that as well? Or do they only have to be within those times?
What do you think?
I mean, I feel like we can, but I didn't know if that's something that I was just wanting clarification.
Yep, that would be the initiative that we're
Okay,
looking.
thank you.
You
Perfect.
got it.
And for those who are not on this call, Christina Flores, if you are able to come off mute in a safe place, if you could share a highlight overview of the curriculum that we use here at IDEA Public Schools, that principals would be on the hook to know.
Yes. So at IDEA, we are utilizing the IDEA created curriculum along with Wit and Wisdom and Eureka, as well as our science and social studies curriculum. So it is what is provided by the district, and the expectation is that we follow that curriculum. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't bring things in to add to it, but we can never take away from it. So the expectation is we must follow the curriculum that is provided, as it has been proven to work.
Thank you so much. And I do know that we have our VP of Special Programs. Is there anything that you would like to highlight, punch, or stamp as it relates to the work that you do for our region?
Yes, so for special programs, principals, you are on the hook to be the SPED and RISE manager, meaning you would coach and develop the SPED RISE teachers. Also, you would also be managing others who are the 504, EB, as many of you all are currently in those roles. Those are major deadlines and major compliance. And as a principal, at the end of the day, it is your campus. And if the person did not meet the deadline, you did not meet the deadline. I did not meet the deadline either. So I just want to make sure that principals are aware of that. And also there's several trainings that happen that you are also on the hook, because things are ever changing in the EB, SPED, dyslexia. So it's very important that you own your learning and you are on top of those trainings and getting what you need.
Thank you so much, Sheila. This is an example of all of us being great teammates. Stephen Foster, if you can come off mute and share more about A rating data and what ownership and accountability looks like from the principal lens.
Yes, of course. Hi, my name is Stephen Foster. I'm one of the VPs of schools here. So A rating is obviously one of the goals that we strive to accomplish every single year. There's a lot of things that go into that goal, some of which Angie included. Not only are we responsible for being a leader of all things at your space, we do expect you to be the instructional leader on your campus and develop all assistant principals to get there. Now, what does that mean? That means not only are you responsible for coaching and developing through the coaching cycle for not only your leaders and your teachers, you're also expected to know what your teachers are on the hook to teach every single day. When you go into a classroom, you have to be able to know what the curriculum is supposed to be for that day, what the data has told you the previous day, and how you're going to go in to address some of the misconceptions that teachers have and that kids have. You also need to be an excellent teacher. If you go into a space and the teacher is not doing what you need them to do, and you whisper coach and you held up your sign in the back and you sent your API and you sent your other API and it's not fixed, you're expected to go into the space and teach and model for that teacher and for your leaders. So all of those things need to be included, plus data management. Angie said it best. We love data here at IDEA Public Schools, and it's expected for you to know every single facet of your data. If I'm your VP of schools and I walk into your space and you can't tell me what the data was the previous day, we have a problem, because you have to know where your kids are. That's the level of care, intensity, and support that we have in order to get our kids to and through college with the challenges and gaps that they experience every single day.
Thank you so much for that, Stephen. And I know our illustrious Ms. Martins has probably got her finger itching on that mute button to share more about what it looks like for college matriculation from an academy lens and also a college prep lens. Ms. Martins, could you share more? What are we on the hook for getting our kids to college?
Yeah, we're actually on the hook for a lot of deliverables that need to take place weekly. I think the biggest piece, it starts with forming strong relationships with our parents, and not just saying like, yes, I have a strong relationship, but really knowing them in depth. Who is the influencer in the family? What is the family dynamics? What does the family need? And that is being intentional day in and day out on making sure that you meet with your college counselor and the college counseling team to identify where they also need support and growth. A lot of principals struggle with developing the actual DCC and the college counseling team, but you are on the hook. And when I say the metrics are quite intense, they are. So it is your responsibility. You don't have to be the expert in college counseling, but you do have to be the expert in coaching and developing, because that is the role of a principalship.
Thank you so much, Ms. Martins. And I just want to name for everyone, I would be remiss in my role as the VP of Talent if I myself did not come off mute and share that principals are on the hook to retain their staff. Whether you directly manage them or if they are a part of your shared site with a co-principal, you are on the hook for partnering with me and my team for the selection and hiring process of every Idea San Antonio staff member. And there are going to be times where you are going to get feedback that you actually don't have the final decision-making authority to hire someone, because we are going to partner with your vice president of schools, potentially vice president of ops, vice president of special programs, and myself to help you hire the most qualified candidate for your role. And finally, I just want to stress, when we hire in San Antonio, we hire for all children. We do not just hire for your site. So the staff member that you extend an offer to must understand they are working in Idea Public School San Antonio region, and they will have an expectation to be able to serve children in any of our campuses at any given time because they are here for children. That also goes to you who are applying for this role. We know that the needs of our children come first. And if there's an expectation for you to go 20 minutes further, we ask that you humbly say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and go the 20 minutes further. That said, before I pop up our next steps on this slide, what other questions, clarity is needed at this time? And we always believe in real-time coaching. Ms. Angie Arizmendi, give it to us real. Is there anything that your VPs and your cabinet team have missed today?
Yeah, I'll just double, triple click on the potential for you to serve from one site to another. I want to be really clear. Sometimes people have specialized skills that would be incredibly necessary and helpful in support of another school. And we don't hesitate to make the movements in support of our children. We don't do what's most comfortable for adults. We do what's best for children, in the words of Mr. Frankie Gray. We do what's right to help our children get what they need. And we expect that our leaders are leaning into that experience as well and recognizing when they have the talents and skill sets that are able to support another community, they're ready, willing, and able to go. We know that it can be challenging to start over and build relationships in a new spot. And we also know that the incredible experience for children comes from being able to get the right staff members in the seats in support of them. Thanks for giving me that chance.
Thank you, ma'am. And at this time, we'll go over our last slide, which is next steps. I have the pleasure of presenting that. Boom, bam, here we go. All right, you might be wondering, next steps, Carvey B, what's happening? That slide's a lot. Oh my goodness, there you go. Well, you're going to complete a phone screening with me. The phone screening indicates you met the you met the minimum requirements for the role. I'm going to determine, along with a panel, do you have the things that we need you to have to then progress to our final interview for our first cohort of principal candidates, which will take place on December 6th. And if you do, you're going to get a very robust email from me that will have all of the pre-work that is required to be submitted by December 2nd. You might be thinking, ma'am, we go on vacation in 4 hours. What is happening? Yes, you're going to go on vacation in 4 hours. However, if your desire is to be a principal and to be a leader within the Idea Public Schools San Antonio region, you will find the ways to block out some time to complete your pre-work in a timely manner so that it can be ready for review by our interview committee. Our first round final interviews will take place on 12/6. It's going to be a full day. Will you talk for a full day? Maybe, maybe not. However, we do want you to block out the time so that you can be prepared to engage in a successful interview process. Then when you're done with that interview process, the committee is going to meet and they're going to say, hey, I saw some really great things from insert names of these candidates. And we're going to ask that you engage with us in a 4-day, yes, I said it, 4-day realistic job preview. We work magic. We can figure out how to do a virtual accommodation. However, if your physical body can be present, that is our desire, so that you'll have in-field time with your potential managers. Who wouldn't want to know who they're going to work with, who they're going to work for, and who they're going to work alongside, so that we can see you in field alongside existing staff, seeing our scholars, looking at all of the things that will determine whether or not you are principal ready. And you might think, hey, Carvetta, why does it say final offers in May? Guess what? There are lots of moving parts in San Antonio. And when we get things right, we really get them right. And when we get them wrong, it is because we went too fast. And what we don't want to do is do warp speed for the hiring process. So we want to be intentional, we want to be thoughtful, and we want to be able to hear more about you throughout this process, so that should you be selected to be a principal for our upcoming school year and potentially this year, that we will have all of the things we need to do to make that offer for you and you to accept that offer. And it does give you enough time as an internal staff member to close out what you need to at your campus. And it gives you enough time as an external candidate to give your notice and close out things at your current school. Questions, clarity needed on the next steps. Perfect. Well, at this time, I just want to thank each and every one of you for engaging in this process. I hope that we were thorough, and in the event that you still have some questions or clarity needed, please feel free to ask me when we complete our phone interviews. Thank you all. Have a safe and restful break. If you are watching this video in the future, we appreciate your time for engaging, and be well. Bye, team.